Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Dare County Board of Commissioners, Monday, April the 20th, 2020, Dare County Board of Commissioners meeting. This meeting was to have taken place in Hatteras originally, and due to the COVID-19, we have had to scratch that meeting in Hatteras. Hopefully later in the year, we'll be able to do that. And we have a prayer that's offered by Father Fred Samuda from the Our Lady of the Sea Catholic Parish in Buxton. So I'd like to read that prayer at this time. As we place ourselves in God's presence and bow our heads in prayer, we remember that God said that He would be with us until the end of time. We are not to be afraid. Lord, we take a deep breath when we say the word coronavirus and pray that you will give us today the strength to live our lives to the best of our ability. The virus has brought on fear, isolation, sickness, and even death into our normal life. But it has also awakened in us the realization that although we are fragile and dependent, that by working together for the common good, we can do the job that you want us to do. Lord, we know we are always encompassed by your love. We thank, praise, and trust in you and your presence among us now and forever. Amen. May we stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will turn it over to the county manager at this time.
Mr. Chairman, item 1 on the agenda is the chairman's opening remarks.
Thank you, County Manager. Take a few minutes this evening to reiterate a few things that I discussed this past Friday. I reported this past Friday that many of our neighbors have received their economic impact payments directly deposited into their bank accounts. This stimulus money will be a lifeline for so many of our residents. If you're watching this and you did not receive your check yet and want to know the status of your payment, or if you want to speed up that timeline for your check by enrolling into direct deposit, you can visit irs.gov. If you find yourself in need of additional assistance, visit darenc.com for a list of community resources. These resources are also available, and I'd like for you to please take advantage of them. While our weather is certainly changing and starting to warm up some, everyone's anxious to get outside in the sunshine. If you do so, please do not use this as a reason for close contact with anyone outside of your household. I encourage you to get some fresh air, but don't be lulled into a false sense of security. Please continue to maintain a distance of 6 feet between yourself and others at all times. Wash your hands frequently to reduce your exposure to others as much as possible. It's also a good idea to use a cloth face covering when making trips to buy essentials, in addition to practicing the other guidelines that slow the spread. While the test results received over the past week in Dare County have all been negative, this does not mean that the COVID-19 is not in our community. Remember, the CDC reports that approximately 25% of all patients with COVID-19 do not show symptoms. Social distancing has been proven to be an extremely effective prevention method. Keep in mind, if each infected person spreads the virus to 2 other people, the chain of infection grows exponentially. Avoiding even one social transmission of the virus early can significantly reduce the overall number of infections within our community. We all must continue to do our part to keep our community healthy and keep following the guidelines to stop the spread. While you and your family are following social distancing and staying home, I would encourage you to take about 10 minutes to complete the 2020 census at my2020census.gov. The results of the 2020 census will help determine how hundreds of billions of dollars in federal funding flow into communities every year for the next decade. I'm asking you to do your part and to ensure that Dare County counts. With the economic hardships created by COVID-19 crisis, some in the community are anxious for a timeline to establish expanded entry into the county. Dare County's stay-at-home, stay-healthy order aligns with the governor's stay-at-home order and is effective through the 29th of April. The Dare County Control Group meets frequently, and we met again this morning at 8:30 for updates regarding COVID-19 and to address all other related issues and concerns. As April 29 approaches, the control group continues to have serious discussions about ways to most effectively balance the health of our community and the economic impacts in order to make tough decisions that are in the best interest of all. Local officials also have begun those discussions regarding the timeline for reentry into the county. When implemented, a staged entry process will be implemented in order to allow non-resident property owners entry before allowing entry to any visitors. As discussions on entry are made, strong consideration is being given to the governor's actions regarding the state's stay-at-home order. The scientific data is extremely significant when looking into the trends and models that are frequently changing. The capacity of our local health providers, the ability of our local merchants to provide essential goods and services. Please know that we will keep you updated as to a timeline when it's established. For up-to-date information, please visit darenc.com. As I've stated previously, we are dealing with a pandemic virus of the likes we have never seen in our lifetime. I pray for each of your well-being daily. Please be safe. I wish you and your family all the best in the coming weeks. Stay home, stay healthy. God bless. County Manager.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. That brings us to item 2 on the agenda, and that's public comment. And so we would pause for a moment to give you an opportunity to look at whatever public comment we've received. Are y'all ready to move forward?
Has everybody had a chance to review?
Yes.
Okay, County Manager.
With that said, then we would move on to item 3 on the agenda, and that is a public hearing on the Series 2020A refunding limited obligation bonds. That has been open for most of the day for public comment as well. And to date, I haven't received any. I don't know if you all have. We'll take a minute to take a look if anybody's received any. Have you, Dave?
Just the one that Cheryl had,
Just the one that Cheryl had? Okay.
which wasn't.
We had one comment that was more related to the COVID than to the bond, so,
Right.
all right. With that said, that would bring us to item 4 on the agenda, and that's our consent agenda. As we did at the last meeting, if there's something on the consent agenda that you all would like more explanation, if you have questions about or would like to discuss individually, let us know now, and we'll pull that off of the agenda. And then once you pass the remaining part of the consent agenda, we can come back to that and have that discussion. So I'd ask, is there anything on the consent agenda that we need to remove and discuss in more detail?
Anyone have any comments with any item on the consent agenda at this time?
So on the consent agenda, we have the resolution of the County of Dare, North Carolina, approving an amendment to an installment financing contract to provide for the refinancing of existing county obligations and related matters. We have the Health and Human Services Public Health Division, additional funding for the Strategic Prevention Framework for Prescription Drugs. We have the Health and Human Services Public Health Division, COVID-19 Crisis Response Funding. We have Health and Human Services, Social Services Division, Medicaid Transportation Budget Amendment, with the designation of the applicant's agent for public assistance from FEMA and North Carolina Emergency Management. We have the request to waive the late listing penalties for personal property listings. We have the approval of the minutes for April 6th. We have the readoption of the Dare County Conflict of Interest Policy. We have a budget amendment for emergency management, and we have the tax collector's report.
Move to approve.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor by the Vice Chairman to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner
second it.
House and Commissioner Tobin. Any further discussion?
I'd just like to read, if I may,
Yes, sir.
item 4 on the consent agenda for, I think, emphasis. This is the Public Health Division, Health and Human Services Crisis Response Funding. And I think this is important to read for those watching.
Absolutely, go ahead.
The Public Health Division has received funding from the North Carolina Division of Public Health for COVID-19 crisis response. For emphasis, I want to say the purpose of this funding is for our local health department, Dare County Department of Health and Human Services, to work to prevent, prepare for, and respond to coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, by carrying out surveillance, epidemiology, laboratory capacity, infection control, mitigation, communications, and other preparedness and response activities. This funding will be used to cover the salaries and benefits of direct clinical staff and to purchase equipment and medical supplies. There have been a number of questions presented to us, and I thought this would be a very significant response to many of those questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Commissioner Ross. Anyone else have any questions concerning the consent agenda? Hearing none, then those in favor of the motion to approve signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous.
That'd be your agenda, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, County Manager. That brings us to item 5 on the agenda, and that's Commissioner's business, Managers, and Attorney business. And I would like to ask the Commissioner House if he would kick that off this evening. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Throughout this whole crisis, a lot of our workers here in Dare County have been laid off or furloughed in that measure, and many of them have been able to get unemployment benefits. However, a lot of our commercial fishermen are actually listed as self-employed, which they do not currently covered under unemployment status. However, there is help on the way. The United States Department of Labor through the Federal CARES Act is actually having a pandemic unemployment assistance program. And this program is for unemployment compensation for individuals not eligible for regular unemployment insurance. As an extension to unemployment insurance, this will provide benefits eligible to self-employed workers and independent contractors. We anticipate the system will be ready to accept claims for assistance around April 25th. And I know that's not an immediate thing, but at least it gives you some light at the end of the tunnel. The COVID-19 House Select Committee in Raleigh has been looking at several other different funding sources to possibly help with our commercial fishing industry as a whole. And they are ongoing in that, and we'll see where that comes. I've had several conversations with a few of our representatives in seeking help in that area. It comes with very sad news. This past week, 2 of our retired captains from Dare County EMS passed away. Captain Billy Deans was with Dare County EMS for a good number of years. He left Dare County EMS, became the fire chief in Murfreesboro, North Carolina. And he was involved in a motor vehicle accident and was killed immediately on scene. My hearts and prayers go out to the Dean's family and also his friends here in Dare as well. One of our other Dare County EMS captains who has been involved with Dare County EMS since its very, very infant stages, that would be Captain Denny Shoup. He originally started as a volunteer way back when it was the Northern Dare Beaches Volunteer Rescue Squad and was instrumental in getting Dare County EMS started and up and running. I had the pleasure of serving with both of these gentlemen. I served with Denny a whole lot longer than I did with Captain Deans, but Denny, like I said, was instrumental in getting Dare County EMS, the roots of it started and getting where we are today. He was also a Vietnam veteran, and his 15 seconds of fame, he was also in John Wayne's movie Green Berets as an extra in one of the backdrops. Denny was a very close friend even after working with him, and he passed away this past week with cancer. And my family's prayers go out to his family and also to the remaining Dare County EMS people here that have worked with him and served under him. And Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner House. I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. It's sad to hear those 2 passings of former captains in our EMS. Appreciate you bringing that to our attention. Commissioner Ross?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I only have one quick update regarding the Albemarle Commission, which, for those not familiar, is a local council of government for a 10-county region in northeastern North Carolina that provides predominantly food for those in need through Meals on Wheels, congregate meals, and related services, as well as dealing with our regional transportation needs with North Carolina DOT and North Carolina or Northeast North Carolina Employment Development, which works with those looking for employment, helping with resumes, job placement, job training, and related services. We have continued to hold our meetings. The executive committee meets weekly by telephone, and this past week on Thursday, the entire board met via telephone. So we are continuing with the business at hand, and the Albemarle Commission was finding a significant need among many of our clients who are recipients of Meals on Wheels and related meal services. And the board approved a $2,000 expenditure for personal care and hygiene items that were in very short supply. And our director there, Laura Alvarico, was very appreciative that the board saw clear to do that. And I'm sure these supplies will go to those most in need and should indeed help out during this time. We have deferred, for the time being, a search for a new executive director that had begun before all this pandemic began. And as a result, we have decided as a board to just suspend those efforts for the time being. Last thing I saw today, just an update, we had a scheduled breakfast with Governor Cooper on May 13th that has been canceled until a later date to be determined. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Ross, appreciate it. Vice Chairman Overton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to thank everyone who has been following the social distancing, the use of face masks, minimizing travel, stay home, stay safe, and the rest of the common sense guidelines recommended to help mitigate the spread of the Wuhan COVID-19 novel coronavirus. As mentioned previously, mitigation is the answer now, and it will be a necessary part of our lives for the foreseeable future. This does not mean that we cannot begin to try to get back to whatever our new normal will be in our everyday lives, including getting back to work and a careful and measured approach to opening our local economies, but it does mean that an acute level of personal responsibility regarding all mitigation efforts by everyone will be required and possibly mandated if we hope to continue with a relatively low incidence of infections. There is no doubt that the Wuhan COVID-19 novel coronavirus will be with us for a while longer. However, significant and seemingly daily medical advances and the nationwide manufacturing response for critical items, along with personal, responsible mitigation efforts, should allow us to begin to attain some level of the new normalcy in our lives. I'm certain that all considerations and suggestions will be thoroughly evaluated and debated before any changes to the current entry requirements are made. No one wants to see a significant spike in positive cases here, but I do feel that we need to get moving again on some reasonable level to avoid a disaster of another kind to the hardworking people of our county while maintaining the aforementioned common sense mitigation guidelines. Hopefully we can all move forward safely and together in our efforts. For those of us in the more vulnerable category, we need to continue to be more cautious. For those of you in the less vulnerable category, you need to remain vigilant in your own mitigation efforts so as to not transmit the virus to others should you have it. Stay safe, stay secure, and may God bless us all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chairman, appreciate it. Commissioner Bateman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I have no commissioner business, but I do want to tell everybody just be safe and stay healthy and just take care of yourselves. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, appreciate it. Commissioner Tobin?
Yes, I would like to report that the dredge Curry Tuck is here on site, has been here for a few days now. They are going to be here for 24 days, and they're working 24 hours a day, so they ought to be able to get a pretty good chunk knocked out of the inlet. On other dredge news, we have received back the second round of bids from all of the manufacturers of the shipyards, and they're being analyzed right now. And after a handful of them are selected, it goes back for the final round, kind of your best offer, so to speak. And also next week, we're planning a trip to Florida to go to the one that's kind of in the lead right now and see their shipyard and meet with the people down there and discuss it further. That's all I've got.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Good stuff, good news. Anxious to finally get that awarded sometime soon. Thank you.
We're getting close.
Yeah, that's exciting. Commissioner Couch?
In this extraordinary time in history that we're experiencing right now, one of the things I'm most profoundly proud of is the power of our personnel, top to bottom, in Dare County. Thank you so much. That's all.
Thank you very much, Danny. That brings us to county manager's business.
I don't have anything, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. How about our finance director, Mr. Clausen? How are you this evening? Do you have anything for the good of the group this evening? All right, thank you so much. Well, with that being said, I would ask for a motion to adjourn until 9 a.m. on May the 5th.
So moved.
It's a motion by Commissioner Ross. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner House. Any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Thank you all.